getting started and all the things like. Whew. Okay. Yes, back to the names. I would really like he's in the gym. I would really like to get as far along in this as possible. There's not really that much left if you got the vocab down. So Talia is on it, and since she is on it, it makes me want to remind you that I did send something out last week.
What?
So if you ever were bored, you do have something you ought to work on. Because last week I handed you Chapter 4 homework.
Oh, yeah.
So looking at it, we technically are here on like day 5. Even though we've been on it longer than 5 days, but we're technically here. We did some sampling strategies and stuff, so it's fine. So we're technically here. This chapter was supposed to take a while. So just so you know, it should be end of next week or at the latest, the very beginning of the next that we test on Chapter 4. So if you've not worked on any of the Chapter 4 homework, I highly recommend you start doing so, because I don't intend to take away any of those. Because a lot of them are really straightforward. Don't you think, Shalia? Yeah, they're pretty straightforward ones.
Hey, Ms. Compton?
Yes, sir.
Were these turned into like a grade or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
They work.
See you, Frank. See you, Frank.
Okay, yesterday I didn't give you time to finish your other sampling activity, so I intend to not ramble too much today, so I'm going to give you at least the last 10 minutes. I seriously just need Sally to have the entire front done, which I know that group already does, but if you have some in the back, I'll give you some extra points. If not, just turn it. Okay, I passed out, well, I didn't pass out, the sub passed out something that said 20 points. We've discussed it before. This other sampling thing says 20 points at the top. Wait, what? This other sampling thing sub passed out says 20 points at the top.
Oh, yes.
You have yours in your hands.
Yes.
Very easily to use.
Oh, yeah, it is that. Abacus.
Says 20 points at the top. AP Stat sampling 20 points. Okay, it's due Friday, which is tomorrow, so you'd really like me to stop rambling, and you have to work on that as well. It says 20 points, and I originally was going to change the point amount, and then I decided 20 is great, but yours should be awesome, so we'll just put it in the 60. So we'll say sampling activity into 60, just, hey, I know how to sample, woohoo! So, and I don't know if you've looked at it, but if you think I'm not going to check row 128 of your textbook, I am. So I do need to actually know that Shalia knows how to use the random digit table. Okay. So hopefully I will quickly ramble so you can actually work on those things. That would be wise. Okay. We left off yesterday. We were talking about, finally we're done talking about how to sample. So we've already got our sample, and now we're going to do something called an experiment. We talked about the difference between an observational study and an experiment. What's the key word I'm looking for?
Treatment.
He said it first. He gets the point. Treatment. Okay.
Is that it?
He did. He can have a point too. You don't know that his group is already ahead on points. But it is what it is. Goodness. Okay, so let's just dive into example 1. There's no need to recap anything else. I think you got it. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine compared 2 medicines to treat head lice. An oral medication called ivermectin and a topical lotion containing malathion? Malathion? That sounds good. Researchers studied 812 people and 376 households in 7 areas around the world. Of the 185 households randomly assigned to ivermectin, 171 were free from head lice after 2 weeks, compared with only 151 of the 191 households randomly assigned to malathion. Whatever. Identify the experimental units, the explanatory variables and factors, the response variable, and the treatment. So what is the experimental units?
The houses.
Oh, wait, different.
The experimental units are the people who get the treatment. So you were right. I believe it's the people whose heads are treated with the lice medication.
Good point.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how this works since I've never done it.
Just circle the plus one. Subjects, whose heads received lice treatment. Okay. The explanatory variables.
Exposure to the lice treatment or the
lice
ivermectin
treatment.
and then
Well, again, what was so explanatory is going to be X or Y.
can do the X.
Okay.
So, wait.
So yeah, right.
Itchy head.
Say your words again. We're all awake now.
Wouldn't it be the
The
medication, either head ointment or the oral medication?
Yes, I agree. So isn't but but is that the treatment itself?
I mean, yeah.
The treatment itself, wouldn't you say, is the ivermectin
Sure.
and
The topical lotion.
yeah, I'm gonna put
Yep.
Yep, that.
So the explanatory is exposure to the allergen.
I think explanatory would be the exposure to, like, applying this.
Right.
And then response would be measuring what happened after we applied. So I think it's technically the applying or exposure to applying ivermectin and the M word. Malathion. Oh, I like that, Malathion. Applying medication. Applying said medication. I like that. Just so we don't have to keep writing that. Applying this to subject's head.
The response is how many lice were killed, or like how they reacted to it.
I like that. So subject's reaction to treatment.
Can I get a point?
Yes, you can. But I also think you should get another point for the other part you put. So subject's reaction to treatment. So more than likely, like she said, measuring lice killed. So, they looked at your scalp before it was covered. They look at your scalp now, how covered is it? And they might not actually count how many bugs, but they might take a before and after picture to prove, like, this one's doing a better job, which is really gross. It's terrible. It's worse than the
Like the head. Not literally, like.
I am not.
Huh?
Because I am a quarter black,
How'd you get it?
and we don't get
I worked at a daycare.
Yeah, I was afraid that I was gonna get lice this summer because I worked at a camp, but we do lice checks like when the campers get there, and so like it's surprising how many people come to camp with lice and they have to treat them like right then and there.
But, it really wasn't that big deal to treat. Like,
Isn't it just like they put some chemicals on your head and then you take a shower?
It was
I
pretty
think
expensive, like,
I saw on this episode of something that you put mayonnaise. I think it was The Office. Mayonnaise, and you cover your head with something. But yeah, we got some sort of. There was something you could buy at like Target, and we put it on my hair and covered it up. But you also have to like not only kill the lice on your head, but deal with potential other. So you have to like wash all your bed sheets. We had to boil my hairbrushes, and if they couldn't be boiled, throw them away. Like, so I like some of my hairbrushes. Hairbrushes is like $9-10 each. That's a lot of money for a couple hairbrushes. So we boiled them, but unless they're the jelly handle ones, you have to throw those away. They died. Okay, such strange experiments lately. I don't.
White glove, right?
I don't. You think I called myself out for having lice? No, I kept scratching my head, and we had an outbreak, and we sent out a notice to all the parents' homes. So that's how I knew. P.S. I bet the outbreak has affected me. Yes, dear.
If anyone knows, like, is there like, I don't know, for some reason, like, you can like not be bitten by fleas or something like that? Because like we had like a flea infestation in my house.
I've been bitten by fleas.
We've had flea infestation before. It
But
was
like I would
crazy.
go downstairs and
It's
they
almost
wouldn't bite me.
impossible
They
to kill
wouldn't
those
bite my mom and my
suckers.
little brother, but they wouldn't bite me for some reason.
I bet it's got to do with your blood. It's like with mosquitoes, they're drawn to you or they're not drawn
Why
to
would
you.
they be bitten?
They're actually drawn
Because we have probably have some blood types. I don't know.
Really?
Every person has
Families rarely have.
Oh, well, they really love me, but I would have thought.
The mom, like when she has a baby, it's O-type blood. The body, next time if her next baby has O-type blood, it treats it like a disease.
Yeah,
and tries
okay,
to
sounds-
cure it.
I don't know. That's very sciencey, and all I got is math. That's very sciencey. Yes, dear.
In ACT prep today, we did this exact same problem.
This exact same one.
Example 2, yeah.
How funny. With experiment and all this?
Well, no, it wasn't this question. Instead, it was like there was a graph put to it.
Oh, funny. That's really funny. Okay, so it's funny because Hunter had one. His wasn't really what we're talking about now, but his was technically statistics, sadly enough. Okay, a little bit. So, does adding fertilizer affect the productivity of tomato plants? How about the amount of water given to the plants? To answer these questions, a gardener planted 24 similar tomato plants in identical pots in his greenhouse. He will add fertilizer to the soil in half of the pots. He will water 8 of the plants with 0.5 gallons of water per day, 8 of the plants with 1 gallon of water per day, and the remaining 8 plants with 1.5 gallons of water per day. At the end of 3 months, he will record the total weight of tomatoes produced on each plant. Identify, and then we have to identify all the things. The easiest one, I think, on this one is the treatments. What are the treatments?
It's just tomato plants.
Oh, that's true. Well, it's farmers. Did it say he was a farmer?
No, it's not farmers. It's just the tomato plants.
They're not watering the farmer.
Well, I wanted to say this farmer's tomato plants, like specifically.
It's just saying it's just measuring the effect of fertilizer on these plants.
So I'm just gonna say 24 similar tomato plants. Back to I'm trying to be specific because if we say like tomato plants of the world, like I get that you need to understand that I understand it's a specific set of plants.
You know what? It does say a gardener plants 24.
So maybe I should say gardeners tomato plants. That would have been specific. So just saying general tomato plants doesn't feel specific enough.
What are you doing? I think this is an apple or pear.
I do.
You said you have to find fruit earlier.
I don't like apples.
It might be a pear. though.
Okay, what's the treatment?
Treatment would be the exposure to fertilizer and water. Right, how much water.
Oh, okay.
You know, I found that I'm pretty sure plants do need water.
Well,
What's the amount of
yes.
water?
So fertilizer in different amounts of water,
I mean, there is a thing as overwater.
obviously. Okay, so
Don't have to do with Miata.
explanatory variables. She's not at all distracting. Explanatory variables.
Sorry.
Exposure to the water and the fertilizer.
So say it again.
The exposure to the water and the fertilizer.
I like that. That was the word I was looking for.
The exposure to differing amounts. Because they're all exposed to
To
water.
fertilizer and different amounts. Of water. Okay, and then the response variable.
Is the
Pounds
weight
of
of the plant.
tomatoes.
Yeah, so and it was very specific. So weight of tomatoes produced is what I would put. Because he was very specific with that, which I liked.
And the problem of an ACT prep today is measuring the yield, the average yield.
Which wouldn't be what I would have expected. I expected him to count how many were produced, but the actual weight makes sense. Because the larger we would think, theoretically, the better. That I can't actually vouch for that with tomatoes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, any questions on this one? I mean, I was really, eventually, next chapter, it'll be like, what is the percentage of the ivermectin that actually helped or whatever. So we'd actually have to add them all up and 171 out of whatever kind of thing. But no, we don't actually get to do any numbers right now.
171 out of 185?
Yeah.
So they're there.
Yes. I couldn't come up with the other number, but yes, but we don't actually get to do any of that right now. Sadly, all the possibility part is next chapter. Okay, but you realize, just like we could sample poorly, there's also a way to experiment poorly. So let's look at this one and talk about what they did that was terrible. Many students regularly consume caffeine to help them stay alert. Thus, it seems plausible that taking caffeine might increase an individual's pulse rate. Is this true? Here is an initial plan for the experiment. They want to measure the initial pulse rate. They want to give each student some caffeine. They want to wait for a specified time, measure the final pulse rate, and compare your initial and your final pulse rates.
Well, they just gave them some caffeine.
Yeah, the plan is very vague.
And also, caffeine has a different effect on different people. That could be a working variable, right?
Right.
Also,
So,
initial
there's a lot of stuff we need to list. Some problems with this plan is the lack of specificity. They just weren't specific enough.
Like, if I were to have something with a bunch of caffeine, it would affect me a lot more than it would affect, like, say,
Jackson.
Jackson.
Okay, so I agree with her. I'm going to do that next. So there's the lack of this because did not specify amount
For anything.
of caffeine
The amount of
There are
time
no
you
numbers
wait.
whatsoever.
Amount of time waiting. Between measurements.
It's okay if I
Et
just
cetera.
didn't use numbers.
Yeah. And yeah. And then, but I agree with Sally, and then what she also put,
You did not
Uh,
identify lurking variables.
yes, did not consider lurking variables. Okay, in our last example, which makes me want to go back to the tomato plants, in our last example, they did consider lurking variables, and I can think of one specific sentence where you can see they addressed lurking variables. What was that
The
sentence?
water.
Yes, the water, but there was something else they did to make sure nothing else was
Identical
impacting
pots.
this. Identical pots. Because one could have argued different pot size produced different plant growth because you
That's a
felt
point.
freer. Yeah, that's a point. But so they were actually considering that, what other things could affect the plant growth, whereas in this, we're not considering what other things could affect your pulse rate besides the caffeine. And like Sally's saying, it might be good to, with our sample, have all the same height, body type, weight, that kind of thing to, again, get rid of these lurking variables. So they're not considering lurking variables. Other,
Oh, things like if people are nervous, like their heart rate would be faster.
one assumes it's, I would assume, I don't know if this is true. I want to say things, and I'm not sure if it's true. I'm not exactly CNE, so I don't know. But I would assume I have a faster heart rate. Like, I got to do a lot more compensating than a skinnier person.
Probably, yeah.
So they probably need to all be about the same weight. That's what I'm assuming. But you know what happens when you assume in life.
Also,
No,
Always.
I mean, athleticism as well, because who's like more athletic would have definitely a lower heart rate.
Oh, yeah?
Not.
So again, the body, so lurking variables, other things affect pulse rate, such as body type,
I mean,
body weight.
The energy drinks a day won't be affected by caffeine.
Yeah, and we're not knowing their previous caffeine consumption. That's another thing too. Like I can't drink coffee right now, but normally I'm such a coffee addict. I have 1 or 2 cups, so like that first cup does nothing because I need the second cup to kick in because I'm pregnant. Okay.
Do babies or something can get?
I swear.
Wait, what?
What's the point of them?
What'd you
Have
say?
you had your weird cravings yet?
Sometimes.
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 I've heard that pickles are common.
Peanut butter.
I might have cried over grilled cheese earlier this week, but I digress.
Doesn't it
I
make
do
the
that.
bean?
Me too.
I still do that.
Me too.
No, it was my grilled cheese, and he took it, and
That's senior break.
but you know what? I got his grilled cheese from Zaxby's on the way home that day, so haha. I'll show
You were
you.
still mad about it.
I still wanted my grilled cheese. Okay, so how to experiment well. How to experiment well. So I feel like some of this is rather obvious, but obviously we need to have a random assignment. So I can't just decide, I can't pick, she gets placebo, he gets drug, etc. We need to randomly assign that of who's getting what.
I feel like we said that a lot.
I feel like we say the same things a lot, but I swear they throw in a different vocab term to describe the same thing.
They just line them up with drug, sugar.
Exactly. And if a completely randomized design, the treatments are assigned to all the experimental units completely by chance. So seriously, I'm not even trying to think through like Sally needs the drug. Like none of that weighs in my brain. It's just she is or is not assigned it by chance. And as we talked about with a blind, not only that Sally doesn't know and Shalita don't know what if they are or are not getting the drugs, but in a double blind, I who am administering the drugs, I don't know which one's getting which either, which
Well, then how
makes
do
it
you
even
measure
better.
the results?
I'm just measuring baseline results for everyone. So I'll just send back like so-and-so gained this much weight or whatever it is we're measuring, our response variable. And I'll send back the results to like the lab and they will deal with it. But they don't know you. They'll never meet you. Only I would actually see you and give you the treatment.
If someone has to know, like, what treatment you're receiving,
Yeah,
they can
people
actually
at
perform
the
the
lab.
experiment, right?
The people at the lab would know. So I'm just going to have something that says A and I give it to this set. Something that says B and I give it to this set. I don't know which is which. But the people at the lab, when I send it back, they know A means placebo, B means drug. Which sounds better. But anyway, not everyone has money and time for all that. Example 4. Many utility companies have introduced programs to encourage energy conservation among their customers. An electric company considers placing small digital displays in households to show current electricity use and what the cost would be if this use continued for a month. Will the displays reduce electricity use? One cheaper approach is to give customers a chart and information about monitoring their electricity use from their outside meter. Would this method work almost as well? The company decides to conduct an experiment to compare these two approaches, display chart, with a control group of customers who receive information about energy consumption, but no help in monitoring electricity use. They want us to outline a completely randomized design involving 60 single-family residences in the same city who are willing to participate in such an experiment. Write a few sentences describing how you would implement your design.
That's a lot of work.
That was a lot of words. So what are they trying to, again, it's best to, like our learning target says today, do what we did on the previous problems and think through experimental units, the treatment, the explanatory and response to variables. If we think those through, then designing is really not that big a deal.
Alright, so the experimental units are single-family residences in the same city.
Why do they need to be in the same city?
Because depending on the method of living there, they might have different lifestyles. They might use up more electricity or less.
Okay, what is our explanatory variable?
The meter or the exposure to the meter, not really exposure. A small meter being attached to their outside meter.
That was one option, wasn't it?
The small digital display.
So one option was to monitor the small digital display.
And then you chart.
I was going to say bless you, that's not a sneeze. Monitor small digital display, and then, but he's right, the other option was to consult your chart. So I'm going to say, I guess I'll use monitor again. I guess you wouldn't say monitor, consult. So we've got our experimental units, we've got our explanatory variables. It really just depends. And then our response is what?
The electricity usage.
What are we hoping to see?
Decrease in electricity usage.
Yeah, we're hoping for a reduction. That was the whole point, was to conserve energy. And then the treatment,
Is in a small digital display and a chart.
yes. I'm just going to put display and chart because they were lazier than they put display chart, so I'm going to put display chart.
If they're lazy, we should be lazy.
That's what I think. That's my logic in life. If I see that someone is lazy on the problem setup itself, why can I not reference exactly what they did?
We gotta set up a design.
Okay, so now that we've outlined this, can we set up a design? So what are we going to do?
So we can randomly choose,
Randomly,
I guess, 20 families to expose the chart, 20 expose the display, and then 20 that don't have it at all.
20 families to display. So randomly assign 20 families to display, 20 families
I would have never thought deleting the control.
to chart, and 20 families. Well, I wouldn't have either, except Louise noticed it said with a control group.
I mean, I did.
That's point
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, you should. Because they specifically said they want a control group of customers, and they give them like a pamphlet or something, but they don't actually show them like how to use the chart, how to use it this way. And 20 families.
They're not, I mean, they're not giving a direct treatment. All they're doing is making them more aware of how much you're using.
Right.
They're not saying if you put the surge protector on, it's gonna cut down your electricity use by half.
Right. They're just saying, hey,
Or use more of an
observation. For the third group, it definitely is.
I like the course you got going.
They're still imposing a treatment by giving you the chart or this digital display, but otherwise, yes, it is just we want to observe what happens. So I agree. I understand how it could be argued in observational study. Okay, so we assign them, and then what happens?
We compare before and after.
When?
Not before. I
It
guess
would
we
be
just
like
compare.
when like the baselines, like the initial readings, average
So-
readings, and then 3 months later.
Is it 3 months?
Does it specify?
Uh
I
huh.
mean, I was gonna say like.
Initial reading.
I was gonna say there's no need for an initial because we have control, right? Because what would the initial be? There's nothing to base it off, really, right?
Should we do an initial reading just based off of different? We didn't specify when we did our 60 families. Different houses might be different generations. An older house might not be as good as conserving energy as a newer house because
I mean, I was
of
just
the
thinking,
different
like,
windows and
what
stuff.
are we basing it off? There's nothing to base it off of.
That's true. That's true. So literally all we're wanting. Do you need an initial just to show that I did go down this month? An initial like I don't know what it reads at, but just to show like I went down.
Because if we have an initial, there's not even a need for control group then because we already have a baseline and initial.
I think what you're.
Yeah.
I think we do need the baseline just to show they didn't change any, whereas our people went down.
I think yeah, because
Like our people use
when
less.
you measure it over a month, you see that they because they weren't aware of the monitoring or they had no way to monitor itself. That shows that let's say one of them is straight, and maybe it's just insignificant changing. You have to compare it to the baseline to see that there was change.
Right, but I mean, like, you could get, like, your electricity bill for last month, see how much it used. So if we have that, can we get a control group?
No. So you don't have to necessarily have an. It depends on, again, this is all fictitious. It depends on what information. Are we the power company? Do we already know all their information and we're just wanting to see if they went down? So we already know their
How would
information.
be able to implant some sort of device that's able to measure the electricity like that?
So that does, I guess theoretically, technically, I'm with Jackson, I would have done an initial reading, but technically we're assuming that these people, since they're the ones giving them the device and handling all the things, plus they're the electric company, so they already know the previous data. Because I was thinking maybe different homes did different jobs of conserving energy, but they already know all that information. They don't have to, they already know it. So I guess we just want a reading 1 month later to see if energy conserved. But I was gonna curse. Yes. I was gonna say hell, but I'll say it anyway.
You
Hell.
just said it.
I know. I'm gonna say it anyway. I was gonna say it anyway. I just wanna.
She's her own person.
Leslie has to walk in that door.
That'd be great.
Even more scarily.
But hell, do we even have to? Once we go in and hand people a chart, show them how to read it. We go in and we install a thing. Do we even have to do this follow-up reading? Because isn't he right? Don't we just have all their information anyway? So can I just consult my records 1 month
there's really
later?
no point in just doing a reading anyways, and this isn't an experiment. It's just like a change in them.
Well, the only reason it's an experiment is because we did give them a treatment by giving some people the chart and some people the display. But if we had just literally watched, did Sally go down? Like, that's an observational study. Agree. But we did give them a.
Observational study.
Okay. Describe how you would carry out the random assignment. Provide enough detail that a classmate can implement your procedure. We're not actually going to write it out. How would you decide?
Hat.
Oh, absolutely. 1 through 20, go to display. Next 20, go to chart. Last 20, only get the info packet. There are only 60. How would be the easiest way to go? Okay, let's go to the next thing. Let's do the last little part, and then I'm going to stop talking. And this is why Louise is mad, because he is correct, because of this very last question, which is why I knew he was correct, which is annoying. What is the purpose of the control group in this experiment?
Well, technically, if you did it how we said, you don't need it. So.
You need a control group, you got a baseline, but since we were supposed to have a control group, you don't need a baseline. They are the baseline.
So control group is, what is the purpose? They need control group. The control group
I've seen
is
Izzy and
R.
Alex today.
That's nice.
No, you didn't see Alex today. You said Charlie Boston.
Yeah, that's what he said last week. He told me he was going to be out the rest of this week.
I swear I can Alex.
He has a wallet swing.
He does. He has some very similar looking doppelgangers. The
Really?
control group is our baseline, so we can justify whether or not energy was really conserved.
Honestly, I think I do better on my own.
Yeah, you've done very well.
That's how I felt when I sat back there, but the depression got to be too much.
Whatever. Okay, so we are going to come back to this tomorrow. I feel like I need to let you go now and work on the things, because if I don't, then you'll never finish all your things. I don't care. The one that's worth 20 points and going into 60, I don't care if you talk to people and have the same answers. I really just don't care. I just need it to be done.
Well, for all using the same random number table, we're gonna have
The exact
the
same
exact
random
same
numbers.
answers.
The only thing that's going to change is your responses there on after. But yes, if you don't have the same random